Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about your NASA career because your NASA bio didn't give many juicy details. It's just like the 10,000 foot stuff. And basically, you reported to Johnson Space Center for astronaut duties in 1995, completing 3 space missions and 436 orbits around the Earth over 660 hours in zero G. Um, you answered a little bit of my first question, but can you talk a little bit more about what goes into the process of preparing to pilot the space shuttle and become an astronaut? But more so on the edge of kind of talking about the differentiating factors of the space shuttle, because you see the inside photos of this craft and you're just it's a bit much, and it's definitely a far cry from, say, a Cessna. you know
There are a lot of switches,
yeah, there's a
4,000,
lot of
I think.
buttons.
A lot of buttons, a lot of ways to screw it up. Well, first of all, my bio is light on details because I wrote it. Um, and it
You're
has
like,
to
yeah, just
endure.
get it done.
It has to endure for a long time. Um, the whole in the space shuttle program was pretty cool, um, and flying the space shuttle was pretty cool. But the space shuttle itself, even though it's a really, really neat vehicle, way ahead of its time, and extremely capable, they wrung so much capability out of it over the years. It was really impressive. Um, but the simple fact is, as an aircraft, it has about the same glide ratio as your desktop computer. Um, and I mean, it is a brick. It is really a brick. And
Okay.
and the, and it's very different piloting it. Obviously, it's got 3 modes. One is a rocket for ascent. The second is a spacecraft, which moves around with thrusters and uses the laws of physics to complete rendezvous and things like that. And lastly, it's an entry vehicle, and and is landed manually, by the commander. Uh, and it has no power, so you're coming in at 100 tons weight, um, and the commander flies that vehicle from 50,000 feet down to the runway to touchdown in just 4 minutes. Um, So, as an example, where you're 800 feet or so abeam the runway when you do your landing approach in a small aircraft, we're 28,000 feet abeam the runway in the space shuttle. It really comes down fast. So you can imagine to pilot something like that and to manage the systems on something like that takes a lot of not only flying experience but also training.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and we get both of those in spades. It takes years from being selected as an astronaut to command your first space shuttle flight.
Wow, that sounds 4 minutes for 50,000 feet. That's exciting, and it's a little bit frightening. So, and differentiated a lot from, say, landing an FA-18, um, and
Yes,
just landing on an aircraft carrier. Less scary, more scary. I don't know.
they're two very different things, but if I measure them by how excited I got, how much adrenaline I had in my system, how hard I had to concentrate, um, I would say that landing the space shuttle is slightly harder than a day carrier landing and easier than a night carrier landing in a fighter.
Oh,
There's
okay.
nothing compares to landing on the carrier at night, particularly on what most nights are pretty black out there at sea. And the deck, if it's moving at all up and down, makes it very hard and very scary
That's right. Yeah, if
to land.
it's, I mean, you're on the ocean, so I mean, if it's just wobbling, and that's okay. Yeah.
My Just to give you an idea, my knees would shake. I'd get out of the cockpit and have trouble walking back to the on a dark, scary night, which most of them were. It seemed like just walking back across the deck to the ready room, I was just literally shaking.
Oh,
from the intensity of trying to land and the adrenaline going through my system.
God.
It never the day landings got easier. The night landings got a little easier, but not much.
Yeah, well, and just the fact that you're landing a vehicle going that fast on a vehicle that is also kind of wobbling around in the ocean. That's I even in the day it sounds very challenging. You know.
Yeah, we're doing about 180 miles an hour
Yeah.
um, coming in, and the catapult shot is pretty exciting as well, particularly at night where you're shooting into the ink bottle. But the catapult shot is 0 to about 180, 190 miles an hour in about 2 seconds, 1.8 maybe.
Whiplash much?
Well, if you don't want to have your head forward of the headrest when the catapult fires,
Yeah.
otherwise it's instantly in the headrest. Um, but yeah, you put your head back. You actually the throttles have a little grip, so you can the G forces don't pull your arm back and pull the engines back. You actually
Very
hang
cool.
on to a little stub that sticks out of the wall of the jet. Um, it's pretty darn cool.
Right on. No, it sounds like they've thought about ways to kind of circumvent the problems that would come from that if you were in the
Yes,
wrong position.
exactly.
Gosh, it just sounds exciting, but yeah, as you mentioned, it probably a lot of adrenaline and a lot of yeah. I imagine I probably would have fallen right over if I'd have been flying because just the fear factor is real.